So we are bringing an unscheduled episode of the Women in Money Cafe to you because those of you that have been paying attention or watched the news, brackets, stop doing that, close brackets, will have noticed that the news is not good at the moment. And if you've been checking on your investments and pensions, they're heading south. And we know from talking to other advisors and just chatting to people in general that there are some really key questions that people have right now about the security of their money and their pensions and investments. So I'm joined by Sarah today. Welcome, Sarah.
Hello. Hi.
So we're sitting on the couch together, just the two of us, and we're going to put them to rights and we're going to answer the key questions you might have about your pensions and investments right now. Well, the market's gone a little bit crazy and we've got an even crazier leadership team in Westminster. Right. So, Sarah, I believe that you've got a list of the most common questions that people have got, and we're going to work our way through them. Is that right?
Yes, we have. Okay. So I hope you're going to enjoy this one, folks. The first one, I think a lot of you might resonate with, and that is, will my investment go to zero?
Ooh. So is it going to keep dropping in value to the point where it is now worth nothing? Is that going to happen?
Yeah.
All right, Sarah, what do you think?
Well, I suppose you could be flippant and say, well, I sincerely hope not. But generally, the answer is no. Because if your investment really goes to zero, depending on what you're invested in, of course, if you're invested in just one particular type of investment, it may be that that's in an area that has a real sudden drop. But generally, if your investments are spread over different areas of risk and classes, so you're basically diversified into different areas, which basically spreads your risk, then no, you shouldn't go to zero. Because if you go to zero, as Julie likes to say, then quite frankly, the world has come to an end. And we were discussing this and saying, what could it possibly be? And Julie, you came up with the end of capitalism, didn't you?
Yeah, so we were chatting before we started. And I thought about this, I think it's maybe about 20 years ago, because I got really nervous about investing people's money. So I thought, I was disaster planning. What could go wrong that means all my clients' money goes to zero and it never recovers? And I thought it through, right? What would need to happen? And basically, we need capitalism to end. That is the only thing I can come up with that will stop your money never recovering. But Sarah, you were making the good point. Like, when we talk about investments, we're thinking about the kind of things we build for our clients, which are well diversified portfolios, which means they've got a little bit of everything in. If your money's built like that, you're going to be fine. Yes. If you've picked just one thing and invested in that one thing, you could have a problem. So that's why we're always going on about having a little bit of everything. So do we think it's going to zero? No, absolutely not.
No, not if you've got your money invested in different slices of a cake. But what do we say? What can we say to people who think they've maybe invested in one particular share type or class or something extreme like Bitcoin? What can we say to people like that?
Okay, so if you have...
Without,
Right, now, no, I'm not going to laugh at this, right? Because I can remember going back years ago, so 2000 and something or other. And I worked for Legal & General at the time. And my job was to go around and visit lots of IFA firms. And there was one company that I went to visit, and they were new to me, and they had what I'm going to say is the wackiest investment process I've ever seen in my life. And what they would do each year is he would pick whichever asset class he thought was going to do well that year. And all the clients went 100% into it. Then my head spun round and round and round as he explained this to me. The year I went to visit him, the asset class he had picked was commercial property.
Ooh, I know what's coming.
This was in 2007. Okay, so if you have done this, right, don't be beating yourself up, because I know investment professionals that have done similar things. So it's now about trying to do damage limitation. I would say that now is the time to go and speak to a financial professional, get some help on figuring out where your risk appetite is and whether what you've got matches it. If it doesn't, then there's some actions and some steps that you can take to make it a little bit safer than it is right now.
And also, if you've got money invested in something like that, that's a very narrow focus, just try and remember why did you invest that money in the first place? What were you actually trying to achieve with it? What's that money for? What do you need it to do? And have that in mind. It's unfortunate when people perhaps just chase a return. I mean, I do know people who keep a little pot aside, who are comfortable enough to have most of their money spread and diversified and all the rest of it, but they keep a little pot aside so that they can have a dabble, as they call it, a play. And sometimes they do well out there dabble and sometimes they don't. But that's very different from somebody who perhaps hasn't had advice or doesn't have as much knowledge and just thinks, oh, this seems to be doing really well. I'd really like to try and make some money. And that's when they can get a little bit caught short just from having a lack of knowledge. But yeah, now's the time to get some help, and don't be afraid to ask for help either.
Yeah. Okay, so Sarah and I, our combined opinion is it's not going to zero. The stock market is not going to zero. I'm not going to tell you how many combined years experience we've got between us. It's a
No,
lot.
please don't.
All right. We sound really young.
I sound very croaky today, which I apologize for, but
Right. So I think that is a really common question, is can it go all the way down? And hopefully we've reassured you that in a diversified portfolio, that's highly unlikely.
yeah.
What else are people asking, Sarah?
How much further will it go down? And should I take my money out?
Okay, so how much further could it go down?
Yeah.
Okay, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think the short answer is we haven't got a clue, and nobody has really, because there are so many things going on at the moment globally, and then so many things going on in our own backyard, especially in the last few weeks, that we can't predict. There are things that are just so out of the normal realms of what we know happens from past performance and things like that there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of unknowns. So the short answer is we don't know. However, I think we know we're in for a bumpy ride for quite a while. And I think it comes down to, like we were saying earlier, if you're worried about it going down further, is it because you need the money that's going down to do something for you? Do you need to get to it? Do you need to take it out? And then that's a different type of conversation.
Yeah, I think what I would say to you is there are no shortage of people with opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that does think they know how far it's going down, I'm not going to sit on the fence. I'm going to come right out and say it. They're either lying or they're deluded.
Yeah, very.
Because nobody knows what's going to happen next. But what I would say is, like, if you work with a financial advisor, or if you've built your own portfolio the way that we would do it, then you will know that there is a degree of predictability of how much it can drop by. There is some science and maths behind what we do, believe it or not, which means that 90% of the time we can actually know what range your returns will fall in, i.e., how much it could drop by. It's 10% of the time, though, where we don't know. And this is what we call so-called black swan events. Like, you never see one of them, do you? You're like, oh my God, but there's one. So 2008 was a black swan event. Yeah. There is a degree of predictability, but we don't know what's going to happen next.
And currently, it's definitely a black swan event.
It's looking like one, isn't it? Yeah. So, yeah, the question was, how much farther can it fall? We don't know. But I think I want to pick up on something you said, Sarah. You said it's going to be long. Okay, so me and Sarah are guessing the same here, right? That's because everybody else will forecast. Okay, we guess on the Women and Money, Kathy, because that's forecast. That's just a fancy word for guess, isn't it? And I think one of the things we were talking about before we pushed the button to start recording is we want to help people understand what could be coming next, because we've maybe been lulled into a false sense of security by what's happened over, let's say, the last 10 years. So if we go back to the market dropped like a stone at the start of COVID, and it's not having a very good time right now either. But if you look at what happened in COVID, so from March through to June, we got a really steep drop, but then it recovered incredibly quickly. really, really quickly. And we were talking about Brexit as well. And like in the space of 10 days, the market collapsed and bounced back up again. This is not how we've always seen market crashes. Sometimes they take a lot longer to recover from. And our sneaky suspicions, stroke guesses, is that this is not one we're bouncing back from quickly. This is going to take a little while. So the thing you need right now with your portfolio is patience.
Yes. So what about people who are concerned with, I can be patient, but I haven't got much time, depending on what their situation is?
Okay, so patience, but not much time. So this is the thing that we do for all our clients. And if you haven't done this for your own money before, then this is a lesson to learn and you can do it going forward. Is that if we know clients, they've got planned expenditure, so over the next 3 to 5 years, or we know they've got a specific goal, or they need money for a certain thing, we make sure that money is sitting in cash. So the bulk of the money we have invested, because that's the way you make money, but money that we're planning on spending is not allowed to be invested. That has to be sat in cash. And the reason we do that is because what happens if we get to the point where you need the money to spend it and the market's decided to have a wobbly? So you maybe heard this phrase, cash ladder. I think that's more of an American thing. It's about having little pots of money for all your planned expenses so that you're never at the mercy of the market. So at the point where you want to go and do something or make a change in your life, it doesn't matter to you what the market's doing because you've got that money in cash already.
Yeah.
Is that a rambly answer or did I get there?
No, I think you got there. I think it's basics of why we talk about financial planning and having a plan, isn't it? It's so that you can use the markets to grow your money, but you're not at the mercy of the markets when you need and want to spend your money. And it's making sure there's a difference between your spending plan and your growth plan. So yeah, some people, they think it can sometimes be confused and you can feel it's harder to achieve that if you have a smaller amount of money, but it is still possible to have your spending plan. And it may be that actually at the moment, your situation is such that you just have a spending plan and you shouldn't have too much of an investment plan, but it depends on your situation. But no, don't invest all your money if you actually need to spend some of your money. And if it's anything you need to do within 5 years, it's usually, you wouldn't normally invest that money, would you? You know, how many times have you, I don't know if you've had that, Julie, when people come up to you say, oh, I've got this money put away, I'm going to be buying a house in 2 years' time, or I'm going to be doing this in 2 years' time. Where can I invest it in the meantime? At that conversation. And it's when you get situations that we're in now that you can really say to people, this is why we tell you not to invest that money. Because yes, you could go and invest it and get lucky and all the rest of it, but equally so, look at what's happening at the moment and you could find yourself with a lot less than the money you put in. So it's a little bit of a lesson in a little bit of planning and a little bit of basic planning of the spending money and the investment. I'm rambling now.
Oh no, I think you've made good points. No, and I think from talking to lots of other financial advisors, what I'm hearing is that people fall into one of two camps on this front of that I need the money or I can't afford for it to drop any further. So the first camp where they're saying I can't afford for it to drop any further, when you sit down and you look at the situation, it's not that they can't afford for it to drop any further, it's that they wouldn't like it to drop any further. It's not the same. So if this is the dialogue that's going through your head, just do a little sense check and ask yourself, is it that I don't like it? Or is it my life is in ruins if that happens? If it's that you don't like it, then maybe a financial coach would be a good person to get you through the next 18 months to stop you making any mistakes with your money. Remember, it's like a bar of soap. The more you touch it, the smaller it gets. Don't touch your money. The second camp of people of, I can't afford for it to drop anymore. Okay, it might be a case that, yeah, we've got a genuine situation here. And I think when the markets drop at a point where you need the money, you've got two choices. Your first choice is either you pull out and you consolidate the loss, or the second choice is you wait. Because we know the market's going back up, but we don't know how long. So let's say you were planning to retire or you were planning to take money out of your investments to go and do something. You can either wait and the market will recover and at some point you can carry on with your plan, but we don't know how long it is. Or you can just pull the money out that you need and accept that you've made that loss.
Yeah.
What about you, Sarah? You got any other words of wisdom for people in that
Well,
situation?
no, I think you've just nailed it in a nutshell, really, because it does come down to that. It really does depend on what any person's given situation is and what their need is at the current time. I would just say it's worth talking it through with a professional, with somebody that can help you to understand that you might be thinking, but I really need to do this because, but it may be if you actually look at it a different way, or consider it maybe a bigger picture, maybe it's not quite as drastic as you think. But for some people, they will be in a situation where, well, I just need to take this money now, or I need to start doing this now. And for them, it is really difficult. And I suppose all you can say to them is only take what you absolutely need, because it literally does lock in the loss. But again, we're saying all this at a time, and of course a lot of people are seeing everything go up, and all their outgoings increase. So which is why I think people get very lost and confused and anxious, because whatever their own situation is, all the noise and all the messaging is, nobody can afford to live anymore. It's far too expensive. Nobody can afford to heat their homes. Nobody can, it's heat or eat, we're being told. And then this is going up. We're going to run out. There was news the other day, we're going to have power cuts. And it doesn't matter what your financial position is, that will still impact you in some way or another, along with, well, all the savings interest rates aren't going up. Oh, but your borrowing's going up. Oh, and your investments are going down. Who in their right mind is going to be feeling comfortable and secure and happy in that situation? Doesn't matter what their personal wealth is or anything. It's bound to unsettle people. There is no positive news or language out there at the moment.
No, which is just another reason not to listen to the news. Don't listen to the news, but study history. Okay. Because what was it, Mark Twain that said, it doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme.
Yeah.
And so I know a lot of you listening to this, you'll maybe remember the credit crunch, but Sarah and I were comparing notes before we started recording, and our memories go back a lot further than that, the financial calamity. But the situation that we're in at the moment, okay, it's not actually happened in my working lifetime, but it has happened in my lifetime. So what we're seeing right now, all the factors that are making us financially uncomfortable, they have happened before, through the 70s and 80s. And we came out of it then. It was horrible and it was painful. But so there is nothing new under the sun. So it's just a case of holding your nerve, tuning out the noise, don't watch the news. And if you feel like you're going to accidentally go and do something that you might regret your money, then reach out to a financial advisor or a financial coach. Our job is to stop people making mistakes. It's not that we make more money than everybody else. It's just we're really good at not losing as much as everyone else. That's not a terribly positive spin on it, is it?
No, but you can save people an awful lot of money and time and stress and anxiety by just helping them avoid some costly mistakes. So yeah, there's a lot of value in that, Julie.
Do you know what it is? I always think of, there's a study, the Dalbar study. I think they do it every year. Have you heard of this one?
No.
All right, so Dalbar, they do research, and what they'll do is they will gather all the data and they will look at what the average investment returned over the previous 12 months. And then they look at what the average investor got of the previous 12 months. They're not exact figures, but in the ballpark, right? The average investment will do about 7%, and the average investor will get about 5%. So the average investor is missing out on 2% because of the decisions that we make. Because we keep touching the bar of soap, leave the soap alone. Do you think, have we covered the main questions that people have got at the moment about their pensions and investments in the current market conditions?
Let me check. I think so, really, because we were talking about if it drops further, should I pull out? I think we've covered that. I think the other thing we've touched upon also was how long we think it's going to last, and we don't know is the short answer to that one. But our expert guesses, such as they are, as this isn't a quick fix one. So it is a little bit of a batten down the hatches, in the sense that, cut out the noise, focus on what you really need and what's important to you. Don't base your decision on other people's opinions, especially opinions on social media or down the pub or one of the many, many myriad of experts that appear all over the place. And just, stick to what's right for you. And then do seek out some help and advice if you feel you're in a situation where you've got to make some money decisions at the moment and actions that are not going to be easy given the current climate. Otherwise, sit tight, folks.
I've come up with a positive spin.
Have you? That would
I've
be
got a silver lining in all this.
Okay, come on then.
Because normally when the markets drop, right, people like me and like Sarah say, oh, now is a good time to buy. But it is looking even more calamitous right now at the moment than it usually does. But and you've got the extra squeeze that people are getting on their finances. So they maybe don't have as much to save and invest. But this is the good news. So let's say originally you wanted to invest £100 a month, but because of all the other pressures on your money at the moment, you can only afford to do £50 a month. Okay, with everything being so cheap right now and likely to be that way for a little while, your £50 a month is going to go into the market and go and buy up all this stuff really, really cheaply. And then you're going to look at it in 10 years' time. And when you look at it in 10 years' time, you see a really big bloody number, right? That was the £50 that you did today. So although you might not have as much money to invest right now, for quite a while, I suspect it's going to be able to buy a lot of stuff that will end up making you a lot of money in the future.
Because the stuff is cheaper to buy at the moment. So you go in the supermarket, it might be dearer to buy, but your investments are definitely cheaper to buy at the moment. That's not to say they won't fall and get a little bit cheaper, but they are still a lot cheaper to buy than they will be in 10 years' time.
Okay, that's that little question's popped into my head now. I just know that there's people out there saying this. Well, should I wait until they drop further?
Oh, I know. Yeah.
What would you say to those people?
If you're a regular investor, we've got the lovely old scenario of the pound cost averaging, which I'm sure Julie will explain very succinctly.
Can I do pound cost averaging succinctly?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. So let's say we are buying, let's say we're going to buy the FTSE 100 every month. We're going to save £100 a month or whatever into a FTSE 100 tracker. So we put our money in today, and let's say that each thing that we bought cost £1. So I bought 100 of the things because I put £100 in. Next month, it's dropped. The FTSE's dropped. Yay, this is great news. So my £100 going in, and it's going to buy 120 of the things because the price dropped. And so now I'm sitting on 220 of the things. The next month it might go up. And so it's when it drops and you're buying more of the stuff, and the next month it goes up, you've got more stuff.
You've got
it wasn't as succinct as it could be. I'm better when I explain it in terms of bottles of wine, but
funny that. No, but basically, if you're saving regularly, 1 month you could buy at a certain price, and the next month, if it's gone down, as Julie said, you buy more of the stuff. And if next month or a year later that goes up, you own more stuff to go up.
Yeah, a volatile market that goes up and down a lot is the friend of the regular investor. The slow, steady, always upward trend, not as much fun for the regular investor, but it'll still do. But volatility, bouncy market, yeah, we'll have that.
Yeah. So basically then, is that our top tip then? Now it's the time to start your regular investing, if you're in a position to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to the person that's asking, should I wait till it drops further? No. It's the short answer.
Would you still say that to people investing a lump sum?
Me, I would. I don't have a problem with this. And I think the reason we're saying we're not going to wait till it drops lower is one, because we don't know when lower is. How do you know? The only time you know that you've hit the bottom is when it's on its way back up. And what we know is it's the amount of time that your money is invested in the stuff that makes the money, not picking the right day to invest on, which quite frankly is like playing roulette.
And we don't advise doing that. So yeah. So the sort of thing, should you wait? So the answer to that then, should I wait? The short answer is no.
No.
As long as it's part of a good plan and you've got the money that you need to spend available in cash.
Yeah. Oh, and I know where you were going with your question with the lump sum. I know because some advisors will do this, and there's nothing wrong with it. And
Mm.
that is when we've got a really bouncy market and there's a lump sum that's to be invested, they will drip feed it in over a period of time so that they're not exposed to just a potential market drop in one day. I tend not to do it that way just because it's drip feeding it in is about psychologically making yourself feel better,
Mm.
right? My job is to make you feel psychologically better. It's not your money's job to do that. My job is to make your money grow. And my job is to make sure that you feel comfortable doing that.
Yes. Yes. And to be honest, if the plan is set up properly, it shouldn't matter.
I'm an all-in girl, me. Other
Well,
advisors will do it differently, and that's okay.
yeah, no, get the plan right, and you won't be worried about timing of an investment.
I think, in my humble opinion, Sarah, I think we've done a cracking job of answering the key questions that people have got right now. Well, the stock market is having a bit of a lively time. The governments certainly aren't helping with their
They're
bizarre
having a very
policies and their
lively
backtracking.
time. I think it's a bit like if you think back to that years when you were sort of in middle school, before you had to write essays and it was all creative writing and stories, and what can you come up with today?
Are you suggesting the government's fiscal policy is make believe and pretend?
I'm just suggesting that generally overall it's like we create today. But regardless of your politics, we're in a very interesting time and nobody quite knows what's going to happen next.
No, we don't.
No.
But we never did.
No, we never did. And if anything, it's just that some of the things were a little bit more subtle and a lot of people might not have noticed them. But we've had so many big events over the last few years with Brexits and pandemics and changes of government every 5 minutes and wars. And it's been big events, big news that have been thrust right in front of us. So people are much more aware of it and they feel the impact of it, even if it's not actually impacting them because of the. So I think it's made people more worried.
Then that's an interesting point, actually. Now, I'm prepared to be shot down in flames on that one. So do feel free to get in touch if you disagree with me or you have some kind of empirical evidence to disprove what I'm about to say. Right. But you were talking about feeling, right? And I think I've believed this for a little while. A large degree of what drives the market is how people feel. We're all feeling kind of shitty and a bit scared at the moment. So guess what?
So is
The market is like, oh, I've got the jitters. I'll get a series of good news stories and the market will be all happy again. So it's how we feel actually influences how the stock market recovers. So yet another reason, stop listening to the news, folks. Get outside and have a walk.
Yes. Yes. Lovely day here today. So I hope it is where you are.
Right. Sarah, thank you very much for keeping me company today and chatting through these hot topics.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right. We will be back soon with a more regular episode, hopefully, once the markets have started to behave themselves a little bit more. Until then, take care.
Bye-bye.